It's that time again. It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. We're going to talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about.
Oh, yeah, it's that time again. It's going to get wild. It's going to get wacky. It might even get a little zany. I love that opening. Berkey and Badger, I got to tell you, I am so happy to see that Berkey and Badger have made it to 100 episodes after only a short 8 years. And as somebody who has been doing it for the past 12 years, I gotta say, it ain't easy to come back week after week with brand new content, with laughs and everything. But you guys, Berkey and Badger, have done it. You have brought the laughs. You have brought the good vibes, the great board game industry and community talk that we all love. So congratulations, Berkey and Badger, for your amazing 8 years of contributions to this community. We all love you. And here's to another 100 episodes over the next 8 years.
What?
Oh, well, hey. Welcome, Babbleites, to the wonderful kingdom of Babblot.
Yay!
Where this less than elegant, I'm seeing 100 shots of ratafia.
Yeah, this is number one.
Well, welcome to this less than elegant podcast, streaming live on StreamYard via YouTube, Facebook, and other wonderful platforms, later to be listened to for your enjoyment on Libsyn and iTunes and all kinds of wonderful places. Welcome, the ever enjoyable Badger the Brave.
Well, good evening. Sorry, my fingers are stuck in some pies here. How are you all doing? Welcome to the show. This is number 100.
Wonderful. Today we have a super fun show because we are celebrating over 100 years of podcasting and completion of 8 full episodes. Or, well, you know the thing.
Yeah, I know the thing.
We have a bunch of friends on the show that are contributing to this amazing achievement. But before we get into that, you might be wondering, why are we dressed like this?
Dressed like what? This is a podcast.
Oh, that's right. I'm not even. I didn't think I was dressed. I am the emperor.
Yes, you're in your emperor's regala.
New clothes.
The new clothes. They're very new clothes. I can see
thank you.
The whiter than white. Well, you haven't been out in the sun yet.
Well, it's been a long time since I've been in this costume. Some of you might be wondering, what is this Babblot? What is this? All this king talk? Well, it all started. When did we start this whole thing?
Our first live stream was on the 20th of April, 2015.
2015.
And,
I don't even remember 2015.
No, there was a long time ago. And we started off a lot. We have a fan in the house.
We have a guest.
You got a hole in your sock. Okay. You go and put it in the bin then.
No.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
It makes for wonderful TV.
It does. Bring your children to work day. That's what it is.
Well, you're right. We did start live streaming. We started figuring out, how did all of this actually happen and how did we meet? I get that question all the time, but back in the day, our family started a YouTube channel called Board Game Theater, where we dressed up in costumes and we played games in costume and did several episodes. One of the first episode was the Sheriff of Nottingham, and I was the good sheriff, of course, and that was super fun. But we also did a episode called Royals. It was actually 3 30-minute episodes. You can still see it on our YouTube channel, boardgametheater.com. But this game here, Royals,
with the wrapper on
course,
still.
There's a nice younger picture of me. when I was slightly thinner, not much, but a little bit
And shrink
thinner.
wrapped. Yes.
Yeah, well, I normally do shrink myself. That's part of my weight loss program. But Royals was a game by Peter Haas and Arcane Wonders that I absolutely loved. And I remember the time talking to Scott Morris, which is going to be one of our contributors, who's now with Lucky Duck Games. But he just, I remember an experience playing Royals with my daughter Gabrielle at Dice Tower Con. And we talked about this idea of us doing the episode and dressing up in costume from the art assets. And it just became a fun thing for our family to do that. And in that process, a Berkey even became meepleized. I'm told that I'm only one of 4 people that have ever been meepleized. Now, that may have changed now, but this here was the King Meeple. Wow. There it is. Tony Galati had put Cynthia up at Meeple Source, and she says, "Can I take a picture of you?" And I said, "Okay, sure." And takes a picture. She goes, "Could you turn around?" Well, then it started getting weird. I did my little twirl and she took pictures. Well, little did I know that Tony had put her up to making a bunch of King Meeples for Royals as a special little promo. And it ended up being super fun. And that was the beginning of Berkey getting involved in the board game media space. How about for you, Barry?
Well, I got involved in the board game media space by watching lots of videos and thinking I can do better. And I did. And I got offered onto the Dice Tower as some grog. I got offered onto the Dice Tower and was contributing on the Dice Tower. And I think that's when our paths did collide with a big bang.
That's exactly when it happened. Met you through the Dice Tower. You were doing episodes, and I remember you did a video parody of So You Want to Play Solo that I just fell in love with and thought your humor was very, very fun. And I reached out to you one day and we just started chatting. And I remember we even played a couple games on Board Game Arena back in the day, like Stone Age and something, if I remember right. And we started talking about this idea. What do you think about putting together a podcast?
Yeah.
Well, back then we didn't know anything about anything, and now we know less. But back then we didn't know anything, and we decided to let's go for it, right?
Yeah. We didn't know anything. Well, I knew how to make audio, so that helped. So making us sound good, but captivating people for hours on end was another kettle of fish.
Well, we've done that very successfully. We've captivated people for 8 episodes,
and that's why we've been called the Babble, because we just let it flow. It's
meaningless nonsense mostly,
yes,
right?
Mostly.
No, it has. Seriously, it's been just such a joy, Badger, Barry, getting together and doing this over all these years, because the main reason we even started doing this, we're going to talk in our Babble topic about the last 8 years, how the show has evolved, different games we've reviewed, things that we still like, how our gaming tastes have changed, things of that nature. So stay tuned for the Babble. But we wanted to give you a little preview of why we're doing this episode. And we've got a ton of guests that are going to join us. And so we're super excited about all of that. So Badger, why don't you quickly let everybody know what they're in for in this show, and we'll get moving right along.
Yeah, moving right along.
Move it.
There goes the hat. We are going to have a quick chat.
No, he was bald.
Yes. I'm Garibaldi from Babylon 5. See, I couldn't think of a good costume to wear. Babylon 5 sounds like Babble.
Oh, that's what you got on.
Oh, yeah. I got
Didn't seem to fit. One of these things don't go together.
Yeah, because it's not red. It's not a red shirt. If it was a red shirt, you would.
Yeah, then we could have expended you.
Yeah, so there you go.
But no.
So we might babble for a little bit. more before going into things which make our king go, But actually, no, we're not going to do that. Yes, we are.
No. Read the
No, we're not going to do that.
script.
No. Yeah, I'm reading the script. And
Hey, we got
wrong.
Tim Douglas and Trent Turner in the castle. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, thank you for your congratulations. So no, we're not doing things that make the king go home, even though it says in the script things that make you think, yeah. But we're not going to do that. We're going to do good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, the not so bad, and the ugly. And after 8 episodes, I still can't do this. And then we're going to go into our Babble subject, which is going to be a behind-the-scenes tour of what we do and why we do it. And yeah, we're going to have our special guest say something nice about us.
In fact, I think we have a special guest. You ready? Got that cued? And actually happens to be
someone else. Scroll.
Robert.
Hey, Berkey and Badger. Got my Game Topper shirt on. This is actually what reminded me that I wanted to say happy birthday, anniversary. I mean, man, 8 episodes in 100 years. Wait, that's not right. Oh, 100 episodes in 8 years? That can't be right. That would be like a snail in badger speed. Wait, are badgers slow? Man. Anyway, just congratulations. Look, I love everything y'all do. Take care.
And I thought I came up with that entry line all on my own.
Oh, no. But yeah,
Robert,
thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much, Robert. Robert Geislinger, good friend of ours. Love Robert, known him for many, many years, and now he's the president of Arcane Wonders. And I got to tell you, Robert is doing an amazing job at Arcane Wonders. They actually are the sponsor of the Board Game Babble show, and they've sponsored us for like 6 years or so. It's really been a wonderful collaboration. And the reason I felt so good about that, we're a little podcast about, nobody knew who we were. And, now nobody really knows who we are anymore. It's gotten worse. So, but the thing that's wonderful about our relationship with Arcane Wonders is I was so impressed with the quality of the game, starting with Sheriff of Nottingham. Absolutely still love it. It's one of my favorite games of all times. Royals from Peter Haas is still one of our favorite games. And they have produced so many amazing games, from Mage Wars, Picture Perfect, Mobile Markets. Now they have the new Dice Manor, Furnace, and Mother of Frankenstein. But I have a big announcement. This just launched here at the Gamma Trade Show. The new hit game that's coming to Kickstarter. Wait for it. Huge. I'm telling you, huge. Call of Duty from Activision and Arcane Wonders. This is a board game that is a first-person shooter. If you go and look at some of the reviews of people that have already started looking at Call of Duty, this is a huge IP. Of course, many of you know about Activision and all the games they produce. But Call of Duty has had many iterations of their games. And people are saying this is one of the best implementations they have seen of a first-person shooter in an actual board game. The new line of sight mechanism that is in this game was developed by Brian Pope, the owner, and his son Benjamin. And this thing has been play tested for like a year. Just tons of energy. The artwork on this game is fantastic. And this thing's coming to Kickstarter. So go to arcanewonders.com. You'll see all kinds of information about the press release about this. There's going to be a huge release at Gen Con about this as well. So stay tuned to arcanewonders.com. And with that, we are going to move into our segment, The Good, the Not So Bad, and the Ugly.
The good, the not so bad. Wait for it. And the ugly.
remember that picture from the Eiffel Tower
Mm.
that we didn't get to go to the top because Badger and my wife said no.
Yeah, and with good
I'm
reason.
in Paris. I'm in France.
But do you want to really spend 2 hours in a queue?
Absolutely, I want to.
You're the king. You should walk straight to the top.
I should have went up there.
Hmm.
It's one of my greatest regrets in life.
Is it?
Not really.
I don't regret it.
Well, the good, so the not so bad, and the ugly. We're going to talk about a couple of the games that we've played, and we're going to let you guess whether we think it's good, not so bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
Ugly. Jody is in the castle. Congratulations, Jody, for joining us and getting to see us. So we're going to talk about a couple games. Do you want to go first? Or do
I
you want me to
can
go
do.
first?
I'm looking for your games.
All right.
Yeah. Sorry.
I will go first then.
Go on then. Go on then.
All right. The first game that I'm going to talk about is a game that just recently came out this year. It's from Fantasy Flight Games, or Asmodee. And this is Star Wars, the deck building game.
Yay, found it.
Now, the thing about the Star Wars, the deck building game, is this is all about Star Wars, and it has most of the original characters from Episode 4, A New Hope, and you're going to see iconic characters like Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Jabba the Hutt, Jabba's sail barge, Darth Vader, Admiral Tarkin, some of these type of Chewbacca, and some of the bounty hunters like Boba Fett, and you're going to see capital ships that are like the Destroyer, some of these type of things on the card art. This is a typical deck building game where you're getting 10 cards to start with. You're going to rotate 5, you're going to draw up to 5 in your hand. You're going to play those. What's different about this deck builder that's unique in one sense, it has what's called the Force. And there's a track there where you're going to either be moving towards the Empire or you're going to be moving towards the Rebels. It starts out with the Rebels having the Force and the Empire starting the game. Now, when each player is going to have a set of 10 bases, and they're going to start with a starting base that has 8 hit points. And once you take out that base on that following turn that player is going to pick between those remaining 9 bases, and each one of those bases have a special ability. So depending on, for one instance, one base will allow you to move the Force 4 steps on the other direction. There's another base that will allow you to exile or cull 3 cards. So every one of them are very strategic, and the timing of when you play them, depending on what's in your discard pile, depending on what's happening in the game and the ending of the game, it's very strategic. And the first person to have 4 of these bases destroyed is the winner. Now, what's unique is you also get a capital ship that will go in front of your base. This will provide a buffer or a protection. But if that ship is not taken out, the hit points or the extra energy that is used to purchase new players, new cards, that gets to be used at the beginning of your turn. Also, some of these cards, they give you special abilities if the Force is with you or not. So there's a lot of strategic play depending on what's coming out in the galaxy row, depending on who has the Force, depending on the capital ship play and the bases. And this essentially is Star Wars, the deck building game. Barry, what do you think I think about this game?
Good question. You're a Star Wars fan, I take it. You know most of the names.
True.
You like Star Realms, which is a deck building game with this is kind of ilk, and it kind of reminds me of it in a way. So I'm going to say that you think this game is good, although you had your ass whipped by Josiah, who is your opponent.
I got to tell you, I have played this game, I think, 10 times now.
Wow.
I've played it with Joseph. I played it with my son-in-law, who isn't as much of a gamer, but he picked it up quickly. The text that is on the cards, it's super strategic when you play them. The benefits that happen with those cards, whether it's trying to attack the base, there's this another unique mechanism in the middle of the galaxy row that I didn't mention, but you can go after these characters. And if you go after the characters, you can get special rewards. You can't go after the opponent's capital ships, but say that I'm the Empire and you have an X-Wing that is there. I can take out that X-Wing so that you don't get it, and I get a reward for doing that. But the problem with that is then I'm not attacking your base. Well, if all I'm doing is attacking these different cards, different characters to get these resources, at some point I'm going to fall behind. And so it's very strategic. I got to tell you, I absolutely flippin' love this game.
Wow.
I mean, I can't wait till they come out with new expansions, or, I mean, you could make a Mandalorian version of this game and have all those awesome characters. Or there's some characters that still could be added, like Yoda and the Emperor. We were having all kinds of ideas. There's a Facebook group on Star Wars, the deck building game, and someone came up with a leaders module on Board Game Geek. Love, love, love. I will play this anytime. I'm not tired of it. I'm getting to know the cards, which is even helping me. And guess what? I even get to win this game every now and then.
Let's put that down to luck of the draw, shall we?
Well, and there is some of that random and all that, which helps me. But that trade-off, that tension, so often it's right down to the last. I remember I was sitting there, I was playing with Joseph, and I was ahead. I was doing great. And all of a sudden, he was just slowly, he was grabbing some of these cards, and his hand, he picked up where he was able to draw an extra card and then draw an extra card. And it happened to be Han Solo, Chewie, and Luke Skywalker. And they destroyed my Death Star. That was my base. Well, how thematic and iconic could that ever be? And my hand, I would have won the next turn. It was that close. And here they blew up my Death Star, and we laughed, and it was just the best.
Yeah, that is the best. Sounds good.
And Kabuki Kid is here. So glad to have you in the castle.
Yeah.
And I got to say, Kabuki Kid has probably been one of our most loyal listeners. We need to give Kabuki Kid some kind of award. I mean, so many of our wonderful followers, and a lot of people actually listen to this on audio versus this live podcast. We do this just for fun and for recording purposes, but the audio show gets a lot more attention. And Kabuki Kid has always been such a joy to have join us live here, as all of you are. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Shame you're not here, but thank you.
All right, so what game do you have to start with there?
Okay, I have this little game, which is based on a series from Apple TV called Wolfwalkers. There we go. It's me. And this is Wolfwalkers My Story, which is a same kind of thing. It's a 2-player card game where you're basically going to have a draw pool made up from this deck of cards, and these cards will either be one face up, which has all these icons in the corner, and there's about 12 different 11 different icons in the bottom corners, along with this wonderful cartoony art from this series or film called Wolfwalkers. I don't know what it is, but it's on Apple TV. But on the back of the cards, there are these objectives. So, like, either get these symbols in this formation, or if you have these symbols in a column in your grid. And that's basically what you're doing. On your turn, you'll draw a card from the market, and you either place it anywhere, and you'll create a 5x5 grid. But you've also got to take that card as it is face up. So it might be face up with the art and the icons, or it might be face up with the objective. And so if you take the objective, you have to put it somewhere in your 5x5 grid. And you're basically doing this, and you're just trying to screw over the other player, as well as, you know, try and get as many points as possible by the end of the game. Because once the 5x5 grid is up and done, that's it. It's game over, and you count your points. Very, very simple, very, very abstract. I don't know if it's got anything to do with the film or series or whatever it is. But yeah, that's what I played. I didn't get to play with the expansions because I've only played this once. And there are some special powers which you place a certain amount out, and there's about 20 there, and there's about 10 or 15 of the other ones. So they're like there's one permanent power which anyone can do at any time, and then these opportunities, and you take 3 of these, and then they're kind of like one-shot powers which break the rules. So you may be able to place a card outside the grid, or you may be able to flip a card or take a card from the draw pile instead of from the market. So yeah, a light 2-player abstract card game for two.
For two. Well, it's interesting that you said there's a little bit of take that. It's simple. So I know you like those kind of games because you can play that with your families, but I don't know if you really like the take that aspect. So I'm going to say, you're going to say it's not so bad.
You know, I haven't even thought about what I think about it. I did enjoy playing it. But yeah, I've only had one play, and it was quite enjoyable. So I would say it was quite good, and I'm looking forward to playing it again, and playing it maybe several other times. And then, as I said, introducing these other extra rules to make it a bit more spicy. I mean, as it was, it's a very simple kind of medium weight kind of game. It's just, you know, take this and squeeze it into your grid and hope for the best that you're going to score as many points as possible. But yeah, there is the interaction. As I said, you know, you can look at the icons in the market and the objectives in the market and go, okay, I need that card, but I can see if my opponent takes that card, they could score lots of points by placing it there. So that there is that, or you could just play in your own corner and just build up your 4x4 grid, which I think the younger kids will do. But, you know, when you're playing against Guillaume, who is my kind of like alternative to your Josiah, it's yeah, you have to be nasty and take all the.
So who makes the game?
This is from a company called Level Add Games. Value Add Games, sorry. They're from Slovenia.
Okay, yeah, I haven't heard of it at all. Is it primarily only distributed in Europe?
No, I've seen it around the world. So
there you go. Mike is in the castle. Welcome, Mike. Welcome. Thank you very much. Congratulating us on our anniversary. 8 years and 100 episodes. Wow.
Kibuki asks, does King Berkey have to fight King Charles III for the crown?
Did that a long time ago. He was not much of a challenge, actually.
Who? Who's
he
King
was
Charles?
Not much of a challenge.
I know Princess of Wales, but I don't know King Charles. So,
well,
your second game.
My second game is a game from Czech Games, CGE. It's pretty recent. A lot of people have been seeing this game out, and it has that Star Trek comedy kind of vibe going to it, but it is Starship Captains by CGE.
Yay. We should have done like a special space episode, not a 100-year-old episode.
It could have been. Yeah, we could have done something better.
Yeah.
This is Peter Hofgaard is the designer of this game. But this is a very unique game. You'll see here. I think he's going to. I don't think you got the right one up there, brother.
Go on in.
This is Starship Captains, and each person has a starship, and you've got the different workers there. Of course, you have your red shirts, you have your yellow and your blue, and you're getting these in your holding area of your starship. The starship is going to have damage. There's pirates that are on the board next to these different planets. When you go to these planets, you're going to get a mission, and these missions are going to give you different abilities. You also get to collect cargo, and there's also a technology track. And you basically have 4 different things that you can do. You can move. You can go to do a battle with a pirate. You can go to the technology and purchase a technology, and you can repair your ship depending on the crew that you have in your holding area. And they move over to this side. And what's kind of neat is when you do a mission, the mission card comes over, you put your workers there, and when they do their thing, you're going to get a reward for that. But then they slide up around for a future turn, and it's just kind of a little tactile mechanism play area that really is kind of cool. There's quite a bit of choices. I've played this game twice at 3 players. I haven't played at other player counts. The game is not overly complex. I would say it's a fairly reasonable teach. The rules are not super intense. There's a fair amount of icons, and so there's some things that it takes you a little bit to get into that. Once you start to understand the icons, it all starts to kind of gel and make sense. There's victory points for completing these missions. You're going to get victory points for collecting cargo. There's a few end game scoring cards in the technology track that allow you to go for a common type of or for a goal that you're going to have. And there's a little bit of a race to get those. You don't want to get them early because all of these technologies give you an engine building type of aspect. One of the other things that in the technology track, when you buy a technology, they have these little tag icons, like maybe the move icon or a medal. You can upgrade your crew from an ensign, one of the gray pieces, into any color. You can upgrade them for 1 medal, but you can also upgrade any one of your colored pieces for 3 medals to make them a commander. And you're going to get extra points at the end of the game, but you also get 2 actions from that piece instead of 1 if they're upgraded to a commander. So when you're buying these technologies, you want to buy technologies that will help you in that process to maximize the amount of actions that you're going to get and the amount of resources so that you can complete all the missions. And there's a trade-off between going and getting those missions and or building your engines, so to speak. So a lot of interesting decisions. What do you think I think about Starship Captains by CGE?
I think I'm thinking that you're going to love this because it's Star Trek. And it's it sounds like probably the best Star Trek game that's out there.
I would absolutely 100% disagree with you. It is not the best Star Trek game by any means. The best Star Trek game in the universe is Star Trek Ascendancy by Gale Force 9, baby.
Oh, okay.
So I don't mean to correct you, but I needed to correct you. Secondly, Star Trek Captains is one of my personal favorite other games. That's just my opinion. No, this does give you that vibe of Star Trek without it being Star Trek. The thing that I'm not sure about on this game, I'm going to say it's not so bad rather than saying it's good. Because after playing it twice, the first time I played it through, I had a hard time really wrapping my head around what I wanted to do and why I was doing it. So that first gameplay was a little off for me. And I said, I got to give it more of a chance because I hear people are really enjoying this game. Well, we played it again, and I kind of ended up, when it was all said and done, having the exact same feeling. I loved that technology track. I love the fact that you're getting these technologies and you're trying to match up these tags. And if you match up these tags, you get that ability right there. Super clever. The way the crew members move around your board and get to be able to come back into your crew holding area. And you can always spend medals to grab one of the guys, or if you have a, or I should say, if you have a commander and you want to use one of his abilities, his or her ability, then you can actually drop another one of your crewmates down in the holding area. I found it, for me, Josiah was doing it brilliantly, of course, and he was figuring out how to get all these maximum terms.
He's a Vulcan. He's natural Vulcan.
It's true.
Yeah.
Live long and prosper, Josiah. I don't know. I'm not excited to play it again.
Oh.
I think I will. I think my daughter might really like it. Josiah liked it. He didn't think it was one of his favorite games, and he's a much better gamer than I am. But he felt it was good, but not like amazing. So that's why I'm saying not so bad. Now, this is just my feeling and opinion on it. A lot of people love this game, so I would not discourage you from trying this game. I think it's well worth that. It is not poorly designed, I don't think, or anything like that. It was just that I was expecting more of that Star Trek theme. I didn't quite get that. The production quality is very good. Excellent production quality. And so that's my thought. I wonder what people in the chat, if they've played Starship Captains, and what their thoughts were.
Well, Kabuki says that she thought you'd have liked it more. She found it a fun game. So, and Rick O. Oh my God! That
Rick Otloff. Rick Otloff is in the house in the castle. And Sir Badger has frozen. Is he still frozen? Let it go. Let it go. I don't want to see the snow. The Berkey and Badger Show will be back after this brief pause. I see Kabuki Kid said that Badger, don't freeze. We just thawing here. Yeah. So, still in the studio, just kind of rambling. I still see the chat is working. And Kabuki Kid said she can still hear me. That's wonderful. And she said she would happily play it again. She said she didn't love it, but didn't get a lot of plays of it. And I wish I would have liked it more than I did. And maybe playing it at different player counts, I would get a different feel of it too. It's interesting. I'm glad everybody can still see me, and that's what's most important about anything anyway. And so Barry, I think, is trying to reboot his system, whatever's going on with him. So I'll just kind of keep carrying on about that. We have been able to do a few more gameplays than normal. We've been kind of in our summer cycle here where we're not quite as busy as we have been. And so we've been doing our Relevance Fridays, where we stay relevant with the board game industry. And I'm just texting Barry here. It's still running. It's working. And they can hear me. We're here. We're here. So we've been playing more games lately, and we had started a game of the crew, which was super fun. And the crew, we were on like the 23rd mission or something, but we hadn't played this for a while. And so we started going back to that. And I got to tell you, that game, I bought the new one, the Underwater World, crew version, which I hear is even better. But we're really having fun playing the crew too. So that was one of the games that we've been able to play. Well, we're going to see if Barry is able to get his internet back. Let me see if I have another game that I can talk about that I have played recently to fill a little bit of space while we're here. Just one second. I've got a lot of pictures of Star Wars because we've been playing a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, that's more Starship Captains. Oh, yeah, we played Ticket to Ride First Journey with my grandson. Philip turned 7 years old, and he's really been a gamer. He played Splendor with me, and it says 10 and up. And I told Philip, I said, Philip, you can't believe this. You're only 6 years old, and you're playing this game, and it says 10 years old and up. He goes, yeah, I'm pretty good at games. He goes, and so then he had his 7th birthday, and we gave him the game. He was super excited about getting Ticket to Ride First Journey. And so we were down. Hannah does a fun little gift when we do our birthdays. When you take a candle off, everyone has to say something they appreciate about them. And so Hannah goes, there's so many things I appreciate about Philip. And Philip says, my personality? He definitely does have personality. And when we started to play the game, First Journey, Ticket to Ride, he says, I think the birthday boy should go first. And I said, absolutely, the birthday boy. And then Elizabeth, who is 5 years old, and Charlie is 3 years old, and their father, Chris, we're all playing together. And the golden ticket comes up, and Elizabeth says, that's a golden ticket. And I said, yes. And she goes, can I have that? I said, absolutely, you can have that. You're golden. And she grinned from ear to ear, and the kids loved playing Ticket to Ride First Journey. So I'm wondering if Barry is able to get back in here. It was, okay. So Barry, are you coming back? Do I need to log out or something? Are you there, Barry? I don't want to play this game solo. Sorry about this, everybody. We're calling Orson. Mork. Okay. Well, Barry is texting me, but I might have to rejoin. Leave the studio and rejoin. I'm not sure. Sorry about this, everybody. And this is why we've only done 100 episodes. It's because of technology. It's not because of us. He said they have some thunderstorm effects that might be causing a problem. He said, give me 2 minutes. So he wants me to talk for 2 minutes. All right. Well, what else have I played? Okay. Let's look at that. I can tell you actually a little story. We played a classic game. I think it's classic. It's one of my favorite games where you're destroying your ship. You're building a ship out of junk parts. It's Galaxy Trucker from CGE. And I've had this game with a ton of the expansions for a long time. I even made a special Hobby Lobby wooden box and painted it black and made all this really cool container for all of the different expansions. And Maddie came over, and Josiah and Joseph, when we were all playing. Oh, and Maddie's husband, Jack. Maddie's my second daughter. And it's just one of those games where there's a lot of tension trying to build those parts. Everybody's grabbing all these parts, but you got to build lasers, and you got to build little shields, but you got to get energy modules, and you're trying to get storage facilities, and you got to have your crew, and you also have to get the aliens. There's expansions for other fun little things. So anyway, you're flying this ship around, and you're trying to get back to the home base, but depending on who's first and who's last is going to allow you to get different resources depending. There's pirates, there's asteroids, there's all kinds of things coming to try to destroy your ship. But it's always so hilarious when an asteroid comes, blows off a wing of your ship, that affects the rest of it, and you feel like you're just hoping to limp into base with this little pod left over. And even when you lose this game, it's a lot of fun. I love it. So that's a game that I really enjoy, is Galaxy Trucker. And they came out with a big newer version of it, I believe. I had the old big box and had all the expansions, so I didn't go ahead and do any of that. I see Gil Mello is here. Wonderful. Love Gil. He asks, do you use BG stats? And I don't. I don't do that. I probably should. I think the last 3 or 4 years since we started Game Toppers, I just haven't played the amount of games that I used to play. And so I haven't done recording. I haven't even kept up my board game geek list very well with my list of games. I think I have close to 700 games. I have a huge amount of, I bet you I have 100 games that I'm wanting to call and sell, get rid of, give away or whatever. And just haven't had time to even do that. They just sit in the other room. So no, I haven't done that one. Does anybody in the chat have a question? And I can just answer that while we're trying to see if Barry can get in here. He says he needs more ratafia. Yeah, well, I'm going to need some more too. Instead, I have the royal drink. The royal drink is going into the royal mug. Yes, yes, yes. It's the drink of kings. Of course, 0 sugar. And we've been rambling, and he's here. He's back.
I don't know what happened. What I don't either. Say is like thunderstorms in the air, so they might have affected the internet. Did you miss me?
I was drinking my root beer. Well, everybody is very glad that you're back because they were getting very sick of listening to me.
Yeah, give me another one of these ratafias and you're going to be sick of me soon. Well, I'm going to be sick. I can't remember. What is it?
Well, wonderful. Glad to have you back. So
yeah,
I've talked about
thank you for hanging out.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, okay. That too.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your second game, sir?
My second game, you're going to say Deja Vu. This game is called Wolfwalkers, the board game. So again, it's the same IP. It's the same film or TV series animation from Apple Plus TV, produced by Value Add Games from Slovakia. But in this, it's a co-op game where 1 to 4 players will be trying to find the spirit of the wolf. And I should have dug this up. Wolf Walkers. And you're going to be doing this by rolling a dice on your turn. And it will dictate where you move. That sounds terrible already, doesn't it? Wolfwalkers rolling a dice to move. No, that's not the case. In this game, there are 4 icons, and each icon is depicted on the board. Oh, Brett Taffy is working. It's depicted on the board in several places, so you can see it. there you go. And some of these spaces they have paths which go to these tiles, which are randomly placed around the board, generated. They're not randomly generated at all. But yeah, so there's a better picture. So you can see there's 4 different icons: the paw, the tree, the elk, and the eagle. So you roll your dice. If one of those results come up, you can move to the nearest one of those. If it means that you traverse a rune, you get a rune, which is like a currency which you can use to spend to buy things. And so there's a nice little puzzle aspect there. You know, you from one place you can go to 3 other icons which match your icon, or 4. But there are these guards which are trying to find out where your hideout is. And they are, if they do arrive at your hideout, that's it, game over. Yeah, you're going to be moving around the board, collecting runes, and going to these paths, which will then make you reveal these tiles. Now, these tiles will tell the guards to move, normally towards your hideout, but they may have wolf spirits on them, or they may have other little powers on them, which will let you do other things. But the thing is, they need to be bought with the runes, which leads me to the 2 other faces of the dice, because I said there's 4, but there's actually 6-sided dice. And these will allow you to, one of the faces will allow you to reveal any tile on the board, so you can see what it is. And the other one will allow you to buy any tile which is revealed on the board using your runes. And that's what the game is. You roll the dice, you see what it is. You either move, or you reveal, or you buy a tile, and you're trying to collect one of the 3 sets of wolf spirits, blue, yellow, and red here. Okay, and you can do this in many different ways. You can do it cooperatively, so you're all trying to find the one spirit, or you can do it competitively, cooperatively, where as soon as one player finds the 3 colors are the same, the game is won by the group, so to speak. And that's it. It's a very light family game where you can teach it to practically anybody who's never played a game before. Again, I don't know if the theme of the series is, or the film is conveyed through that, but yeah, there you go. Wolfwalkers, the board game.
Okay, well, I think you think this is good. This looks like a good family weight game for you.
It works. I think I'd get bored of it pretty quickly, so I'm going to say it's a not so bad game. It's
Okay.
I've played it with Robin, who's 5. And there's a kind of little system to beating it every time. It's that kind of easy game, but it's accessible. He understands. He knows what to do on his turn. That's the good thing about this game. It's very, very simple. It's very open, and again, you got this little bit of confrontation with the guards coming down, and so that makes it a bit more intense, especially when they block your route because you can't traverse through their space, and they normally stand on a rune space. So it does have some nice mechanics and some nice ideas. But as I said, it's probably a game where, you're going to play it 4 or 5 times, and if you win every time, it's going to get a bit boring, even though there are like 4 levels of difficulty. And each level adds more of these tiles, and each of these levels just does something different. So you have to, as I said, you yourself have to have the 3 colors of the spirit. And the only way to do it, if someone buys a blue and you're collecting blue, you're going to have to wait for this other tile to come up so you can swap tiles over, so you can get that blue one from them and then complete your wolf. But yeah, it's nice. It works. I wouldn't say it was a bad game, but as I said, it's a game that I will find probably getting a bit dull as time goes on.
What was it about this? What was it about this theme that drew you to these games? I've not heard of this for some reason, but
no. These the company actually contacted me and said, "Would you be interested in doing some reviews?" So that's where they came from, basically.
I see.
Yeah.
But this is an IP that they've had with a TV show or something?
Yeah, they seem to have a contract with a few other Apple TV shows as well. There's another game that they produce,
Oh,
which is
Apple TV.
yes, Apple TV.
Ooh,
Yes, yes,
very highfalutin
yes,
connections.
the pomme de la pomme or la crème de la crème. I can't remember which one it is, but
Yeah,
yes,
the creme de la plum.
but yeah, no, that's Wolfwalkers, the board game. So I definitely recommend it for families. And again, for newbies. But out of the two games, the card game, the Wolfwalkers My Story seems a bit more kind of a gamery game, even though it's kind of abstract.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be revisiting this segment, the good, the not so bad and ugly. We're going to talk about that a little bit in our Babble topic. But while we just keep moving along here, we have another guest contributors joining us.
Oh, yes. You have to give me a mo. I need to find them, which are... Who could it be, you ask? Who could it be? It could be...
Hey, this is Marty
and Tony
from Rolling Dice and Taking Names, and we wanted to wish the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show a happy 8th year anniversary and congrats on 100 episodes.
That is a huge milestone, Marty. And, I thought Rolling Dice and Taking Name was a mouthful for a name of a show. They even got us beat.
I think that's even longer than ours.
Do we really have to do this?
Oh, 100%. Game Toppers is a sponsor of our show now. And if you look in page 46 of the contract under section 4, it says that we have to do this spot for him.
Okay, I never got past page 1, so sure, whatever we need to do.
No telling what you signed then.
That's my life. If my wife tells me to sign something, I sign it. It's the way it goes. But hey, Berkey and Badger, congratulations. 100 episodes. Amazing. Keep going.
Thank you very much. Rick and Marty.
Thank you, Marty and Tony. The king
Tony
is not a dumb king. He does have stipulations in the contract.
Oh, yes.
Now,
Dear
Marty and Tony have been really good friends of mine even before we had Game Toppers, and one of my favorite podcasts. I love Rolling Dice and Taking Names, as many of the other ones we're going to talk about here a little bit later in the Babble topic. But one of the things that we're going to talk about as our gaming has evolved in our podcasting, our lives, all that kind of stuff over the last 8 years. One of the things that came into my life was that I became less of a board game media contributor and more of a board game manufacturer of custom gaming accessories. And that brings us to our sponsorship of Game Toppers.
This video was made possible with the help of Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience with a Game Topper.
I think the fun thing that I just wanted to talk about real quick, being this is a little bit of a rundown memory lane. Game Toppers, we started in 2017, and the idea was my 2 older daughters had moved away, had gotten married about an hour from us. I had a dedicated table that my dad and I built. And I thought, how do I make a portable gaming table that allows us to enjoy this wonderful experience, but make it portable, but really high quality? And I made 5 wooden prototypes. And long and short of that, I found a manufacturer that I had worked with when I owned a computer company in our local hometown. And we came up with the military-grade aluminum extrusion rails that allowed us to create this high-quality gaming table that converts your home table into a high quality board game solution. Then it started evolving with all the different quality neoprene 3mm premium stitched game mats from some of the industry's top board game artists like Vincent Dutray and Jaroslav Radecki and Andreas Zifaratis and others. And from there, the opportunity for us to bring this product to the worldwide audience. We're in 18 countries in Europe, Australia, New Zealand, even Singapore. We've shipped stuff to Dubai and Israel and United Kingdom, all over the place. it's been 5 years of seeing this product become a high quality solution that was affordable for a lot of people to upgrade every game that they play from here on out. And we've just been so fortunate to be able to do that with Game Toppers. But I never want to rest on my laurels, okay? We've continued to get better. Now we have dining covers, we have leg kits, we have more gaming mats, we have leaf extensions to extend your topper. But we have a bunch of new innovations coming to Kickstarter this summer. We're going to be sharing a lot of things, but can say the name Vincent Dutray?
You already have.
How about Javier? How about Amber? We have a bunch of new board game artists that do some amazing work. When you see some of the things, one of the things we're working on is an Egyptian theme mat, a train theme mat. We also have a bunch of terrain mats that are being added to our repertoire. But we also have some other way cool innovations. And when I tell you about them and you start seeing them, you're going to go, oh my goodness, this is a whole nother notch. Well, we're excited about continuing to do more and get better at what we do, bringing great gaming upgrades. So you can check out our site right now at GameToppersLLC.com. We have a ton of packages that are still available where you can get a Game Topper package for your home and or accessories and gaming mats. So check out Game Toppers LLC. And with that, we are going to move on to the Babble topic.
And now it's time for the Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble.
And there we go. So we have another guest contributor. We've got BJ from Board Game Babble.
We do. He's there.
Hey, Board Gamers, BJ from Board Game Gumbo here, congratulating Berkey and the Badger for 100 episodes of absolute nonsense. What an achievement. And to celebrate, how about we play a quick game of 2 lies and a truth and let your listeners figure out which one is the truth. Number 1, Berkey has been to 49 out of the 50 United States. The only one he hasn't been to, ironically enough, Minnesota. Number 2, the Badger speaks 5 languages, but one of them is not English. All 100 episodes feature a translator who does all of Badger's speaking parts for him. And number 3, I used my childhood nickname of BJ on the Dice Tower because there was no way I wanted to be known as the other Barry. That's right, Barry Babblot, a.k.a. the Badger, was just too famous. Congrats again for 8 awesome years of silliness. Les le bon temps roulé.
Thank you.
That's the Cajun that comes out of BJ.
BJ. That was nasty. Oh, thank you.
Well, number 3, because of the famous-iosity of Barry Babblot, worldwide known master of all things music, master of all things board games, master of all things Ratafia.
Yes. The last one, yes.
Yes.
I'm all tapped out.
You're all tapped out. This is thanks, Kabuki Kim. Tim Douglas made some nice comments about our game toppers and mats. Thank you.
No.
Well, we're going to talk about where Berkey and Badger's going, why we started to do this. We're going to talk about all kinds and reminisce just a little bit, and we're going to hear from a bunch more guest contributors. We're going to go down memory lane just a little bit. We're going to talk about board games and some board game related items here too, but hopefully you'll enjoy this. For us, you know, our lives have evolved. With me going into business, it has really changed the dynamic of how I was able to contribute as a reviewer. And the truth is, I never really cared about becoming famous in the hobby. I just wanted to do some fun stuff. And that's where board game theater, it was about fun. The reason I designed the Game Topper, it was about fun. It was about the love of the board game hobby. So everything we designed or everything we created for media, for me, was just wanting to do that. And then I hoped people would enjoy it. So we always want listeners, of course. We would love that people contribute. Having all these people in the chat here, what a joy that is, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So
nice to have
why do you think
Gumbo.
we decided to do this, and why we're continuing to do this? What is your take on that?
Sorry, what was the first bit? There were Eratafia.
It was unimportant, very unimportant.
Don't make me read the document, please.
So why do you think we decided to do this, and why did you decide to do it?
Why did I decide to do it? Because I wanted to flex some other muscles, some older muscles. Like in my youth, I used to do lots of radio play in theatre, and it was always fun to just like add sound effects and do things like that. And so doing a podcast, I thought, yeah, you know what, I'll do a podcast, and you know what, I'm going to add some sound effects and make this sound cool and clean up our vocals and cut out all the times that I scratch my bum and the king has a slurp on his royal beverage, whatever that may be. So I thought, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, the royal root beer.
Yeah, and again, to do a live stream podcast as well is a lot of fun, because we can see each other while we're talking, and you can see us while we're talking. Because a lot of my comedy comes from physical theatre. Again, and yeah, I don't want to be famous. I still don't want to be famous. I just want to do what I like doing, and go about my normal business every day. And again, going back to the board game video reviews, if I could have, I would have animated them. I would have had them animated, or I had a puppet explain the game and me just do the voice, and direct, and then do the CGI. But I don't know any of that stuff. So yeah. Unfortunately, I had to put my face up in front of the camera. Yeah. Not something that I'm proud of, but because I wear my face on my sleeve.
Yes. I'm not proud of your face either, but you have to do what you have to do sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just another way to it's another way to review as well, because I mean, you do your video review and then you post it, and then that's concrete. And then sometimes you're like, wait a minute, I missed out that, or you played the game later on and it's like, well, I want to add that onto it now because I found out that this element of the game is important for people to a deciding factor whether this game should be bought or should be left on the shop shelf. So yeah, it just gives me another outlet to try and advise people what games are good, not good, or ugly, so to speak.
Well, and that's really where we came up with that segment, because we wanted to not only talk about board games we were playing, we wanted to give people our perspective. Doesn't mean that our perspective is correct, but we want to give people our opinion on different things like that. And I think one of the things when we first started too is you and I just hit it off. Our personalities and the humor, we just kind of played off of one another, and it was super fun just to get together with you and talk about board games. And we would just sometimes get on a Google chat. We've got 7 hours difference between us. So, but sometimes when I was first waking up and it was around 7 o'clock at night, for you, because I don't wake up till noon, but so true. You're right. It's usually midnight that I wake up and stay up all night.
Yeah.
But it's just been for both of us, I think, even when life was stressful or life was busy, this was an outlet for us to kind of decompress a little bit and just enjoy the friendship that we've developed. Because over the years, it's been 8 years. I mean, I had the opportunity to go to Essen and meet with you. I was able to fly you into Board Game Geek. You were in my home, taught us Batman, and was able to drive all the way to Dallas, 19 hours, and help us at the show. my wife and I came to Essen, and we were able to stay at your home with your lovely family, and you take us all around to Reims and to your in-laws' house and try ratafia and go to Paris. I mean, who'd have ever thunk this would have ever in 1,000 years happened to me? And it all happened because a lot of this friendship that you and I have developed, these experiences wouldn't have happened. So I'm so grateful. I just love you to death, Barry. And I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to connect.
Yeah. Kabuki, yeah. He was allowed in the home. We did a podcast just over there together.
That's right.
Yes. And again, it was, I think the first time we met, I was actually working for Monolith demoing Batman, and they took me to Gen Con. And that is when we actually first physically met after, many years of doing this podcast. And that was, the snap was there. I mean, it's a bit strange when you're talking to someone like this or through a telephone. But when that snap of connection is actually there physically as well, it's another kettle of fish.
Yep,
and that's when you
UK Games Expo and Essen, and then every time I remember that first time at Gen Con too, because we ran at each other like we were going to hug, and then we just ran. Somebody filmed that. I forget who it was. Maybe it was Sean Ramirez from.
It was Paul.
Oh, it was Paul Grogan. Paul Grogan. Paul
Grogan. Do you want to hear what he said about us?
Yeah. What did Paul say?
Well, let's find out.
Hello. Oh, hi, Kevin. How you doing? Yeah? Yeah, I can do you a favour. What does he want? Oh, you got your 100th show coming up. Wow, 100. Gosh. It's been a long time, hasn't it? You finally got to 100 shows. Yeah, no, that's brilliant. So what is it you want? You want me to record a 30-second funny video clip of me saying congratulations on reaching your 100th episode? And you want it? Yeah. Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, no problem. Cheers. Bye. I don't know if I can be bothered.
Okay.
I think that's maybe how everybody felt that I asked. It was like, oh crap, we got to do that.
Yeah. I mean, I think sleeping that one night together with us was enough for him.
Well, I think we wore out our welcome. That's what happened.
Yeah.
No, seriously, Paul Grogan, super great friend of ours. Paul was one of the first podcasters, media people in the industry that was on the Berkey and Badger show. Yeah. And it was such a treat having Paul on the show. And he does such a good job with reviews and writing rule books. And I just love Paul. I love what he does. I love all the years and commitment he's made to the board game hobby and all the things he's done too. So
he's deeply committed. He's not someone that's doing it for the fame, the fortune, or whatever. He's someone that wants to make games better by helping create better rule books and creating good instructional videos on how to play the game. Which I really admire about him. He's dedicated, and he's I was going to say fun to play with, but after that video, I don't feel like saying that now.
Yeah, don't say that. I didn't like the way that come off.
Yeah.
So I remember that time though, we were at the UK Games Expo, and Josiah came with me, and then we flew, I believe, to London, right? And you picked us up at the airport.
Yeah.
At Heathrow. And then we drove down to Columpton, where they live. And we got to spend, I think it was 2 days with them. We stayed overnight and we saw some sights, but we got to play Flamme Rouge at their house. We got to take him and his is it, I always get it backwards. Is it Vicky or is it?
Yeah, it's Vicky.
It's Vicky.
If I remember.
Or is it Julie?
Yeah.
Anyway,
I think it's 50.
out to eat, and we had super just great time hanging out with them, and then going to the UK Games Expo. And this last expo that I was at, got to talk with Paul too. So love Paul. I was thinking about another episode a while back, and this was one we had started doing our episodes where we have a game show where we bring on a special guest. And I didn't go back and count how many, but I think we've had close to 50 guests on the show from a lot of notable people in the hobby, from designers to publishers, media content creators. I remember this one episode where we were doing the game show with Scott Alden. Maybe you've got a clip from Scott.
Oh, I'll beam him up.
Hey everybody, this is Aldi from Board Game Geek. I cannot believe you guys created 100 episodes of your podcast. That's almost as many times as Barry's played Seventh Continent. But seriously, congratulations on hitting triple digits, and here's to 100 more episodes of making us forget we have actual work to do.
It was such a fun episode with Scott. I still remember it. And after we got done with the show, I don't know what it was all about, the different things, but when he was doing the drawing, it was super funny because we have the 20 questions type of part, what's their favorite game? And then we have to guess. And, that's 3 different segments of our board game segment. And game segment, excuse me. What game is behind the door is the name of that segment. And afterwards, Scott goes, I didn't know you guys were doing this. This is a great idea. I've had so much fun doing this. And that kind of blew me away that here's someone like Scott Alden, who is so well known in the hobby, who is just a plethora of knowledge, who's been such a good friend of mine too, and helping us start Game Toppers. They bought 35 of the Game Toppers for the Hot Games Room when we were just nothing. Our company was just barely started, and he put I cannot thank him enough for how kind that was and how that helped us with momentum to get our product out. And here you got a person like that going, I really loved your show.
He's got an immensely large heart. I hate to say this, Berkey, but it's bigger than yours, I think. Berkey is a very generous person. Berkey is a loving gent in this universe that we have, and we're very lucky to have him. But I just got this sneaking suspicion that Aldi's heart is just a bit bigger. I don't know. It's although he can't count. I've actually played Seventh Continent 49 times. as the infamous site BGG says, 49 times. So that's like practically an hour and a half, 2 hours per session. So that's a lot of gaming.
Well, we've had so many folks on the show, and it's every one of them has been unique, but they're people that, generally speaking, we're not casual acquaintances. It's people that we know and that we love in the hobby. And I think of Dan King, the Game Boy Geek. And I sponsor the Game Boy Geek with Game Toppers now too, but I was a good friend of Dan before he even showed up. I think we've got a clip from him.
Yeah, and I'm just going to say, Kabuki, you're right. He is trying to join Craftwork with all his keyboards.
Hello, my friends. It's the Game Boy Geek here. Wow, 100 episodes, Berkey and Badger? I mean, it did take you 8 years to get here, which basically means you move slower than a person with AP playing a Vital Lacerda game. Remind me never to play anything except a real-time game with you guys. But no, in all seriousness, guys, I love your podcast. You guys are just a great mix. Thank you so much for having me on over the past years. I look forward to hearing another 100. But is it really going to take 8 more years? Even if it does, love you guys. Congrats.
Possibly it might take another 8 years due to the fact that, our lives did get in the way. Your business, my business. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a nice segue. We're going to continue to hear from some more guests here, but our lives have evolved since we started this thing. I mean, 2015, and we're just doing media stuff. We're having fun. You were doing a ton of reviews back in the day, and we had just started Board Game Theater. And that for someone that was doing it part-time. I mean, we would have sometimes up to 100 hours in post-production and filming and costume design, all of that with Board Game Theater. We only did a total of 9 episodes, but that was a lot of time and effort that went into them, and they were so much fun doing that. But when the whole Game Topper thing came on for me, my life changed so drastically, because all of a sudden I was totally focused on making Game Toppers succeed. And I would work 70 plus hours, sometimes 80 hours a week, literally just eating, sleeping, working, sleep for 6 hours and go at it again, and do that 7 days a week. And so gaming, even though I was traveling to all those conventions, I rarely played a game at the convention because I was working all the time, and then I was exhausted. Life for you likewise changed.
Basically, I did video reviews as for fun while I was on holiday from work, because working in the vineyard's like a 9-month job, so you have like these 3 months where you do nothing. And again, as I said, I was paying a lot more attention to my videos than a lot of people were. So I would spend about 2 days on a game video, making sure that the rules were down, making sure the edits were clean cut, making sure the music was nice in there. And then I got this Seventh Continent job, making music and sound effects for the back end. And then that led to other jobs. And so my business changed as I had to resign from my vineyard work because of the repetitive stress syndrome on the arm, which was causing a lot of pain. And it was a case of, okay, my business is now doing sound effects and music for Sirenscape and other popular board game companies like Monolith and Bombaics, and doing a hell of a lot of work now for Lucky Duck Games. So especially with they integrated apps and stuff. So my life has changed. And again, it's like work comes at different stages. So it's like I might have like a period of my life where it's just a slow trickle, and then I might get a big project in, but then that big project might get cancelled or paused while there's like this problem here, and then it comes back, and then the 3 other projects come. It's you have to roll with the waves. Was it roll with the tide?
Roll with the punches. Yep. No, it's the same thing for us. When we're in a Kickstarter cycle or a new product development or fulfillment, those times are incredibly busy. And then sometimes we have a little bit of lull. And for me, going to all the conventions was such a joy. As a reviewer, going to conventions, it was so much fun. It was summer camp for gamers. It was all of that thing for me. And then the first couple of years of Game Toppers, going to all the conventions, showing off the product, was super high adrenaline, super exciting, focused, but an incredible amount of work. I'm not as young as I used to be, even though I look younger than I used to be. So that being said, I've noticed the wear and tear on me, and going to the conventions, it doesn't have the same feel that it did 5 years ago. It doesn't have the same feel that it had 8 years ago. And honestly, even the podcast here, sometimes we would have, like Kabuki Kid makes a comment that it's taken over my life, but then says no time to make jerky. Well, I was known for making beef jerky and my Happy Mouth signature spice, taking it to shows and sharing it. Yeah, there you go. Whole pound of that bad boy.
Ooh, yeah.
And I love doing that. That was so much fun. But it became a stressor for me, trying to get ready for the show. And then I would have to make jerky because my wife goes, "Why are you killing yourself? Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Well, I got to give the people what they want." No, the truth is, I love doing that stuff, but I just only had so much physical energy bandwidth to keep it up. And as I'm getting older now, and as the company has grown, I'm noticing that more and more. And even with the podcast, sometimes it's like, okay, we've scheduled a podcast, but I am really swamped right now, and I need to get my headspace clear so that we can actually hopefully bring something of value, right?
Yeah. That's what it's about. Is making sure that you are lively when you go live. Yes, and having the time to do it all. That's the thing. It's yeah.
Well, and
Sorry.
speaking of Lucky Duck Games that you're doing some video for, we have Scott Morris from Lucky Duck Games with us.
Hi, everybody. This is Scott Morris, your friendly neighborhood Chief Sales and Marketing Officer from Lucky Duck Games. I'm here to help celebrate the 100th episode of Berkey and Badger's podcast. This is amazing. I mean, 100 pennies is $1, a whole dollar. 100 yards is a football field. Well, an American football field at least. But this is something that should definitely be celebrated. So, gentlemen, thank you so much. I know it's only taken you 726 years to put together 100 episodes, but we love you, and we love the content you produce, because it brings us all together over something we all can share, the love of board gaming. Congratulations, Berkey and Badger. Here's to 100 and 100 more. By the way, if you haven't played a Lucky Duck game, please do so. You can learn more at luckyduckgames.com.
Now that's a marketing manager for you. And you didn't know that Lucky Duck Games is a new sponsor of the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble show. But now that he has done that, we're going to consider him a sponsor. And I'll be hitting him up for a lot of money so that we can continue to do the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble show.
Yeah, and I'm a sponsor as well then. As a kind of temporary employee of Lucky Duck.
I did just say that. It can happen. Sometimes when you say it, it can happen.
Okay. I'm going to wear a crown.
I wonder if he'll listen to this. I bet you he won't listen to this. But if he does, I'm going to get a big fat contract for you, Barry.
I've already got one. Just sat there.
I remember when Scott first joined, because meeting Scott at Arcane Wonders when the sheriff of Nottingham, I made a badge out of wood of the sheriff of Nottingham, and we did a clay emblem and put it on wood, stained it with this heavy duty chain from the Art Assets Sheriff of Nottingham game, and it was part of my costume. But I made a separate one for Scott, and I made a separate one for the owner of the company, Brian Pope. And I remember giving it to Brian. He looked at me and went, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, "Honestly, I love this game. This is the best." And I just thought, congratulations. I thought maybe you'd enjoy it. And it was the same thing for Scott. And then we were able to do Sheriff of Nottingham as a Dice Tower board game theater episode. And Scott, he knelt down before me, and I placed the the emblem, the big chain emblem over him like he was being knighted. And he's been on the show a couple times. He owns one of our game toppers, and Lucky Duck actually uses our game toppers in their show kits. And he's just been such a good friend of ours and friend of the show. And he's just doing so well with Lucky Duck. I'm so glad that he's working with them, because they are a real star in him.
Yeah.
And I think we might even have, being as we mentioned the Dice Tower, we might have a very iconic person who's a friend, Eric Summerer from the Dice Tower.
Berkey, Badger, Kevin, Barry. It's Eric Summerer from Things. Just wanting to say congratulations on finally making it to episode 100. What's it been, like 8 years? Anyway, it's been wonderful getting to know you both and meeting up at conventions all over the world. It's just been a fantastic ride to get to know you two, and I wish you the best of luck and best wishes on another 100 eventually. Bye-bye.
Hopefully we'll retire. Hopefully we'll retire before we get to 200, and then they will just we'll be doing one episode every day, because we'll have nothing else to do.
Then we could do it. We could get to 500 like the big boys.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be 1,000 years old before we get to 500. Yeah, I think I think during the pandemic era, you and I were not playing a lot of games, and there was a lot of stuff going on for both of us. because your game group totally changed. My game group changed. I was in the middle of dealing with a lot of issues during the pandemic as well. And that really limited the amount of shows. I think we maybe only did about one show a month. But one thing about Berkey and Badger, we've done different segment shows. So we've actually done quite a few more than 100 episodes. We do the Woods of Evergreen show. We've done other different segment shows. But this show we consider the main show, the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble show. We've been thinking about adding more words to the title so that it makes it harder to find.
The Berkey and Badger board game. Maybe we're going to play it in a minute. Babble show,
and maybe have an episode with a guest. Maybe not.
Yeah. The flagship.
Yeah.
It is.
The flagship. This is the flagship.
Yes.
Hey, we've got someone else that wanted to contribute, and they were very desperate to do it because they wanted the notoriety that they could achieve by being on the show. And I said, okay, fine. Our guests are Blue Peg, Pink Peg.
Hey, it's Brandon.
Christina.
Rob.
Kevin.
Blue Peg, Pink Peg. 8, 9, 10 years ago, I met a young, svelte Berkey.
What?
He had a beautiful, well-kept beard, and he was in a Sheriff of Nottingham outfit. And you know what? He attracted me with his charisma and charm.
Well, I remember something different. There was a Santa Claus looking guy who had spicy meat in his backpack. That's who I remember.
Wait a minute. I met a Berkey with a top hat who just made game toppers.
Well, look, you guys talk about Berkey. I'm going to tell you, he's got a co-host. It's so tenacious. He's known as the Badger. All right, that's how good he is.
Listen, these guys are celebrating 100 episodes.
Big number.
8 years of content creation. As someone that's been doing it a little longer than that, I can tell you that's a long time to make media in the board game world. Huge congratulations from all of us here at Blue Peg, Pink Peg.
We love you guys.
Yeah, amazing accomplishment.
Now for 100 more.
Ordered the king. Off with his head. Thank you, guys.
I remember when I first came across Blue Peg, Pink Peg, and this was when Christina had just started playing board games. We're going to have Christina. Have we had, did we have Christina on the show? Or was it Rob?
We just had Rob.
Okay. I think we talked about work, but I just love the pegs. I remember I was doing a stonemasonry job, and I found out about the podcast, and I started just binge listening to their show. And they only had about 20 episodes at the time. This was back before Game Toppers, before Board Game Theater was a thing. And I just loved these guys and Patrick, and and the show has evolved like our show. And now Brandon from the Brawling Brothers is with them, and had so many amazing experiences with that crew. They were at PAX Unplugged with us and did a special event, and just love those guys. It's been such a joy to be able to connect with so many people in this hobby that are just dear people.
Yeah. What I'm thinking of doing is stealing from them a bit, because basically when you say Blue Peg, Pink Peg, you think it's a 2-person podcast, but there was actually 4 voices there. So maybe we should do the same, Berkey and Badger, but there's like 10 other voices. Maybe that they can push out more episodes.
Well, you can be your other personality, and I can be my other 6 personalities.
I don't want to be my other personality. He's depressive and sits in the corner and plays The Cure.
Sybil.
Yes. What? There is too much butter on those trays. Sorry.
We've had a lot of these experiences in the hobby, meeting so many different people. But I'm curious what your thoughts are on how your gaming has evolved in the last 8 years, because you went from reviewing to doing a lot more music projects, but still kind of reviewing games. We talk about board games. We still play board games. We go to conventions. You teach games. How has your gaming taste changed over the last 8 years?
I think the perspective changes as well. Yeah, I mean, especially when you look at yourself sometimes. You, oh God, I'm going deep now. I'm going deep, and I'm having to think about this.
Oh boy.
But
Oh boy.
yeah, but yeah, my gaming tastes haven't changed, but they have changed due to the fact that when you analyze what you say about a game, you start thinking, yeah, that might not be the type of thing for me. Recently we did an episode on the two-player count. And that's kind of like jaded me to two-player games, because it's a case of, this game is okay with two, but it really needs to be played with three or four. It needs that interaction to stop it just being I smack you, you smack me kind of game, where you got a chance to rest in the corner, or chance to come up with some allies or come up with some enemies. But yeah, it hasn't still changed. My morals are still the same. I'll play anything which is punked down in front of me, basically. Still the same. And you just treat everything as if it's, and that's it. Apart from that, it's a case of, I know now what works for me and what doesn't work for me. So what's Kabuki saying?
My
hairpiece
Trent and Kabuki are having fun in the chat.
Yeah.
Barry's alt is called Basil.
Yes, it is.
Basil.
There's so many lines I want to say, but I can't say them. Yes, dear, I'm putting the moose head up now. Stupid old bat.
That's too funny. Yeah, I think, when I started gaming when I was in high school with some of the, Avalon Hill games, Axis and Allies, Fortress America, Shogun, Conquest of the Empire. Some of those big games were big rule sets for the time for games. And we love those games, but a lot of those games were area control type of games. When I started seeing the bigger board game hobby and the hobby market and all the new games, when I became exposed to that in a greater way around 2010, somewhere in there, we were getting Days of Wonder games, but a lot of those games had very much a family weight feel. And we played them every year at Christmas. We'd get a couple of those games, and our families would play Colosseum and Mystery of the Abbey and Ticket to Ride. And Josiah and I played Memoir 44 like crazy. And Pirates Cove, Cleopatra, City of Architects, those Days of Wonders type of weight games. And then we would still, when I saw these other games, I would get two-player games that Josiah and I would like to play that could be, that more combative, like Stronghold or Battle. I just lost it. Command and Colors game, Richard Ford, and love those type of games. I find that I don't play as many two-player games as I used to, and I don't play as many of those strategic dudes on a map games.
Yeah.
Ones that are highly competitive and more take that. I found that my gaming tastes have gone a little bit more to thematic, Euro, and family weight games, less complex. I love some complex games like Mombasa and Great Western Trail, and some of those games, I love those, but I don't do as many of those now. Yeah. And I'm not sure why that's really changed, if it has a little bit to do with just mental bandwidth to be able to get together and be able to be in a 4-6 hour game again. Yeah. I just don't get the time to do that. And so
it's the time as well.
My taste.
Yeah. Again, when you're younger, you just want, board games are these big epic adventure things, and then you forget about the Unos and the Carcassonnes. but it's like they are still just the games which you can just pluck on the table and play and have fun. I love Uno. I got for my 50th birthday, my friends bought me the 50th anniversary edition of Uno because it's the same age as me. Wow. Incredible. I need to do a video about this. But yeah, you forget about those great games. Well, they're not great. They might be infamous for you, but they're simple. Even just placing a tile down and making a nice picture is a game. But in the youth, it's like, yeah, that's not a game. That's just tile laying. But yeah, you kind of, the more you delve and the more you do things, the more that you experiment with, the more you kind of appreciate those things. And sometimes it's just like, yeah, just a simple pleasure in life of laying a tile or rolling dice, zombie dice or something like that. Is it can be as fun as moving miniatures aboard on a map. As much as I miss, because it's like every time I see Guillaume, it's like we never play we want to play big games. He's got shed loads of Kickstarter big box games and stuff, and we never get to play them because the kids, the wife, food, drink, and it's code names.
I love what Kabuki Kid mentioned here, and Trent also, but he talks about that Kabuki Kid is mentioning that she had a regular game group and they have a nearby friend who likes to do 2-player games. Trent then made a comment. He said, yeah, I still need a dedicated war game player. And then Kabuki says she loves War of the Ring and Star Trek Rebellion. Well, see, that's exactly my point. Josiah, when he lived at home, and then even after he came back from college, he lived with us for just a little bit. We had time to do that. And so we had that partnership that really enjoyed those games. And those games are amazing games. Those Command and Color games, I love them. War of the Ring, both in Battle of the Five Armies. I love 1775. I love that as a 2-player game. There's games like that and the deck builders, some of the 2-player deck builders, like the Star Wars Rebellion, we play that all the time. Love that. But getting that right fit of your gaming group where life doesn't interfere, because, all of a sudden Josiah got married. He moved out. We don't have that opportunity like we used to very often. And they're precious when they happen, but they just don't happen as often. And so sometimes you have to kind of adapt. And I find games like Point Salad, older games like For Sale and Time's Up, things like that, I find them getting to the table more often because we can just grab them real quick and play them and have a lot of fun, teach them to new players, trying to introduce new people into the gaming. But I've also had opportunities to play some big games like Mosaic and Arc Nova and these games that I still love, those big immersive games.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Couple of years' time, you'll be retiring, and then you'll have all the grandkids to play with, and then you'll have all the time in the world to teach kids from the age of 11 to 5 to play.
I think you're actually right, because my grandkids really do enjoy gaming, and I've tried to make it very fun for them. We were playing First Journey Ticket to Ride. They would take a track, and I'd go, "Oh, I wanted that track," and I would act and they'd get all giddy, and they're just so excited that they took that track, and making it fun for them and letting them, have some achievement in the games too. And I think that was one thing that was very successful with our family gaming too, is our family still loves to game together. And because we had so many amazing memories, when it comes to, we talked a little bit about over the years about the amount of games that we would acquire. Do you still have a problem with your shelf of shame and it growing?
No, it moves. It does move. So like, there'll be games which come off the shelf of shame, but other games will come in and replace it. So, but it's less and less as time goes on. I mean, it's because I'm buying less, I'm receiving less. So it's like, I get time to go back and go, okay, right now let's crack this one out and see what this does.
So how many do you think are on your shelf?
Oh, dearie me. Probably between 20 or 30 games which I haven't played, including like Dead of Winter, Cool Worlds.
Oh wow! You haven't played Core Worlds yet. Oh,
I
love Core Worlds.
I know, as we mentioned in our last Woods of Evergreen, Letters of Whitechapel. My copy hasn't been played, but I have played Letters from Whitechapel. But I bought a copy and it hasn't been played.
Well, I sent you a copy of my Shelf of Shame.
Yes, you did indeed.
I have a few games that are on there that I've actually played, but might not have played my copy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you have that where you can pop it up? There it is. So I've actually played Endless Winter. We've played Over Battle, but I haven't opened up my copy of it. I got that whole. I've played Arc Nova. It just happens to be over there because I haven't played my copy. But all of those games, some of them, there's actually like I've played Crusaders actually, and Kalis and Le Havre. I've played
this
Red,
is actually
Red
just
Cathedral.
a fake picture. This is fake news.
You know, I've played Rolling Thunder too with Richard Lanius, and I played Campaign Trail, but we didn't get to finish Campaign Trail. Well, anyway, they're sitting over there, and they're calling my name. I've actually gotten through probably a dozen games that were on that shelf that we have finally gotten through, and then I find out whether or not I really like them. But you know, a lot of being in the hobby as a manufacturer, I have so many publisher friends and media friends. And so when they have a game, I love to support them. And so I will back quite a few games that I kind of forget about them. And all of a sudden they just show up. And then, oh yeah, I do want to play that. Excuse me. I just got my brand new copy of Raw Deluxe from 25th Century Games. I love Raw. And when I saw the production that Chad and 25th Century put together with that game, it's off the hook, man. I saw them at Tantrum Con. Great big honking wooden tiles that you're pulling out of the bag. Everything is so much easier to view than the Windrider version I have. And love. I just
Tim was just saying he's got 2 games on his shelf: Power Grid and Rising Sun. Yeah, just 2. But he's lost track how many times he's read the Power Grid rulebook. And that makes me giggle because there are so many times I'm like, I'm going to play this game. I'm going to get this off my shelf of shame. I'm going to play it. Read the rules. Get to it a game night. It doesn't get played.
My goodness. I can't even relate because there's been times I've had 40-some games there. And then I'm feeling guilty about why they're there and why I haven't got to them. It just feels wasteful and whatever, but I just haven't had enough bandwidth to be able to get through it all.
Talking about bandwidth and not being able to get through it all, we need to talk about Ben Maddox, who's been a guest on the show.
I love Ben.
He has something eloquent to say about us.
100 episodes and only like 2 have me in it. This is an absolute travesty. I tell you what you should do is after these 100, just then do, Board Game Babble with Ben, Barry and Berkey. And that would be perfect. But anyway, gents, congratulations on your 100. Here's to 100 more. And if you want to give me a discount on one of them game toppers, Berkey, I'm right there.
I know a guy, Ben. I know a guy.
Yeah.
Ben's awesome. I tell you, Ben, he was one of the first guys on the show that, if I remember right, he just cracks me up. But it was one of those shows that we were so off track of our script altogether. We just lost it having so much fun screwing around. And he's just one of those characters that's got such quick wit as you do, Barry. It's just funny.
No, I haven't got wit. I'm just quick.
Yeah, you're just quick. wit head.
Yeah, but yeah, Ben he's so. I have so much admiration for Ben. He's such an intelligent guy with such a an enormous vocabulary of words, and he's so poetic. But sometimes after a few beers, that just goes out the window. But he, he's starting to come into the limelight in the board game realms, which is a shame because he should have been there at the beginning. And he is, he's phenomenal. He's such an interesting character. He is the pauper in the street who is, really a millionaire, basically.
Yeah, he actually came and did an interview with me for his show when we were at the UK Games Expo. I think it was in 2019. And just like you say, he's very eloquent. He's very sharp, and he's definitely worthy of a listen. He really does a great job, and he's just a fun guy to be around.
Yeah. Good to hear, Kabuki. You never miss an episode of Ben's podcast. And apparently he's going to be posting a video every week now.
Ooh, cool.
And maybe a video with a game topper in it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Well, I think we're kind of nearing the end of that, but before we kind of go on where we're going to go from here, are there any games that you've reviewed that we've reviewed together, whatever, that are still games that you're playing a lot and that we still even want to talk about?
That's a hard one. I did want to skip this question, but we'll do it anyway. There are a few, because it's been hard for us to both play the same game because we're in different parts of the world. We have kind of slightly different tastes, and we can never get the same game to the table. As we've tried to do our Knights of the round table kind of segment where we do review the same game. But yeah, there's a few. Royals is something which I like playing and can be easily traversed to the table at any time with practically anyone, which is nice. And I did have another one that's just gone out of my head. Foundations of Rome. How could I forget it?
I was just going to say that too. It's like we just recently did it, but Foundations of Rome it's definitely going to be a long-term played regular game for us.
Yeah.
And we were able to, I believe that we both reviewed Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah.
And for me, that was a game that we just absolutely love. And if I recall, you liked the game, but it kind of fell flat with the group because it's kind of player dependent, and you didn't have a group that really got into it.
Yes, and basically, I just wanted my game to feel like I was watching an episode of board game theater, but it wasn't. It was just people sat around the table going, "I've got 3 bread. Oh, you have? Okay, there you go."
Yeah.
It was like
boring. But I tell you what, you get the right people that are horsing around with it and can manipulate the double bluff. I mean, it's nothing better, I think. And there's a lot of those games that we talked about early on too that I remember. I just had it. We were talking about Stockpile from, you recall that? And Stone Age was one, and we had played that together quite a bit. But it was really difficult for us, you being in Europe. Sometimes we couldn't. There might not be distribution of a game, and then vice versa. If you had a publisher that gave you a game and I couldn't get it here, it was really hard for us to, like we were our game group and then talked about the game. Most of the podcasters I know, they're playing games together and talking about it.
Precisely. And again, for us to sync as well, it's like, let's review this game. Okay, so I'd play it, but then you'd have problems getting to play it to the table. Then I'd play other games, and then you'd play it, and then I'd forgotten everything about that game. So it's like, I can't really review it because I've forgotten everything. And it's like, I got to play it again. And then when we do sync that, we can actually plonk it out. But that's probably why we lost that segment. And it's a lot easier to do the Woods of Evergreen, I think, because we can just, boom, this is the game.
Well, speaking of that, then, what do you think? We've seen some evolution in the show where we started out. Initially, we were doing a show where we do the Knights of the Round Table, that we were talking about a game we both played. But then we evolved that into the not so the good, the not so bad, and the ugly. And we used to do those funny little memes. I used to come up with cartoons, and we'd talk about some little captions that just made it kind of amusing. And we would try to stump the other person on what our feelings would, and have our guests actually, guess what our thoughts were about that. And then it kind of got to the point where we just felt like it's better for us just to give our rating. It's a simple rating. And it's a first impression type of rating. Hey, we haven't played this thing 6 times at every player account. Excuse me. But we've kind of evolved that a little bit. But then we started doing that separate. We did our game show, the whose game is, or what game is behind the door. And then we started doing the things that make the king go, which was a news segment. And that slightly evolved. Then we started doing a separate episode that was apart from the flagship show, as Kabuki would say, that was the Woods of Evergreen, where we would go back and we would revisit games that we felt stood the test of time. So standed the test of time. And they did stand the test of time. We started, I think, initially at 2005, and we went all the way up to 2019, and then we started all over again. But some of those 2000 through 2005, it was hard to find another 3 games that we could each talk about.
Yeah.
So where are we at now? We're at, I think our next episode will be going through 2012 for the second round.
Yes.
So within about 6 months, 6 or 8 months, we will be back up to current through the second round. And more than likely, we've kind of expended what we want to talk about on those episodes. However, we had a discussion that maybe what we would do then is make kind of a compilation segment where we talk about a decade, some of our favorite games from that decade that stand the test of time, from 2000 to 2010, and then from 2010 to 2020, for instance, and do kind of a finale show. So by the end of the year, we're probably going to be done with this segment.
Dramatic pause. Yep. You waiting for tears? You're going to be done with the segment. No, I'm never going to walk in the woods of Evergreen ever again.
Yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a lot more content. There's a few years in there that we can definitely talk about a lot more than just 3 games. Yeah. We'll have talked of 6 games each, so like 12 games. And we try not to repeat, and we try not to do expansions, but we kind of do.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's all a bunch of doo-doo.
No, it's not doo-doo. It's dun, dun, dun. Come
dun,
on.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, all that. Yeah,
Dun, dun, dun.
Again, that's been one of the things that is not been a problem, but we've had to scratch our heads about is every time we introduce a segment into the main flagship, it kind of prolonged the episode so long.
Yep.
And it is a case of having to chop and trim things, unfortunately, because you do want to babble. You do want to just see where this conversation will go. And again, for me, I've met a lot of guests which I don't really know. I may have heard a couple of podcasts or seen them here or that, or heard their names, and it's like, yeah. But once you get that talking, especially with the quiz show, which is really, really fun, that's when you find out the person and you go, I like you. I want to find out more about you now, but I want to do it now. I don't want to switch off and then download your podcast to find out more about you. I want to know about you now. So yeah.
Well, I think, excuse me, I think one of our desires too is that we could give people a little bit more of a bite-sized episode. They could listen to it in a half an hour, and of course we're too long-winded, so they end up being 40 minutes. And we tried to keep this show down to an hour and a half. And now, of course, like we had a pause there with your technology, but we're at almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
And we're about ready to finish, and everybody can have a great big sigh of relief. Oh, thank God, it's over. But we end up just rambling.
Someone type a comment, which we can start off another tangent of a conversation.
Yeah, we can go another hour. I know we can. Well, we have an idea that we think we could take our segment, the good, the not so bad, and the ugly, and convert that into a segment that we can still utilize it, but do that in more of that bite-size episode that we can.
Yes, with food and add in some happy mouth. So we get some recipes
and
we
jerky.
Go, okay. Yes. We get some recipes and we go, okay, this is a good, bad, or ugly with chicken.
We're going to do recipes.
Good, bad, or ugly. Yeah.
We'll do recipes. It'll become a cooking show. Yeah. And
food.
We'll plate items that look like board games.
Yes.
Well,
sorry.
Anyway, we're going to come up with another segment after we get done with the Woods of Evergreen. So by the end of the year, we're going to see a little evolution in the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show, and do our best to try to bring on new, interesting people in the industry, whether they be board game media folks, whether they be designers and or publishers, and bring those people into the space so we can try to stay a little more current and relevant with things that are happening in the actual hobby. But then we can also spend time talking about board games. And a lot of people just want to hear about board games. So we think this might help a little bit, but then we can still have our Babble topic, still talk about the news segment and things that are happening in the industry.
Well, it's in the title. If you don't talk about board games, why are you called Berkey and Badgers Board Game? Maybe going to get round to the subject. Yeah. Yeah.
Tim Douglas says, let's go for 3 hours. And he's the only one that thought that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Barry, all I can say in concluding here is that getting to know you has been one of the joys in my life. You have been such an amazing, not only contributor to board games, but you've been a good friend of mine. You've been here when I've been down. You've been here when we were frustrated. You're just super kind-hearted, and you've worked like a dog to produce this show. You do all this stuff. I help, coordinate some things and bring some inspiration, but you do the work, and you do a great job. This audio show that you professionally produce from this nonsense that we just broadcasted, I mean, you make it sing. So the audio show is actually much better produced. And it's just a tribute to your skill, your gifting. And I just can't thank you enough for the time you've put into this, but also just for being my friend.
I've got no words. I'm choked. Thank you.
Well, you're supposed to reciprocate with a really heartfelt.
I didn't have time to write that all down to repeat it back to you because
I already gave you the script. I told you what to say nice about me.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Okay. Hey. Hello, Babbleites, and welcome to Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble and the wonderful kingdom of Babblot. Hold arms out.
No, that ain't the one. The one that I'm handsome. The one that I'm handsome and good looking and very kind and the best person in the world, that one. And how I make your heart sing when you think about my name.
The second biggest heart that I know after Scott Holden. You are, no, it's been great fun hanging out with you. As you say, you've been there for me when I've been down. And I've been there for you when you're down, and doing this show just takes us out of our worlds for a bit and makes us giggle and laugh as we babble. And I think that's kind of like a good stress relief. I mean, there's stress coming up to the show, writing the script, finding out what we're going to do, what we're going to talk about, what guests we're going to have. Is the internet going to stay online? And then when we do it, it's just like, wow, this is the best. No, I'm not going to say that, but it's just that. Wow, this is something that we share. This is something that no one else has. And I'd like to thank you for your friendship, your generosity, and your beard. I've still got a bit of it on the mattress there.
Okay. Thank you.
It remind me of you.
Too much information. Too much information.
I'm going off on tangents, but yeah, it's thank you for getting in contact with me about the show, doing a podcast. Because yeah, it's a lot of hard work, but as soon as I push play and I hear your voice, and then I hear the banter between us, I'm giggling as I'm slicing up the boring bits. And
all of Berkey's ums.
Yeah, and all Berkey's ums. Yeah. And Cameron and Knox and Mike Knox. Yeah. And
can't help that.
Yeah. And termite sounds, which are eating his woodwork behind. You can't hear that, but I've edited them out. Yeah. But, yeah. It's always fun. And hopefully we can do another 100 years of us having fun together, and maybe actually doing it face to face as well.
Yeah, I can't wait till I get able to come back to Essen and us be able to hang out some more. And then maybe you'll be at the States here too. And we can, sometimes we're always working so much, but maybe we can plan a trip where we can spend some extra time together again.
Yeah.
So it's been a joy. We thank everyone for all of the years of listening to us and this nonsense. I can't believe you do it, and we're glad that you do. But what we really care about is your download and your subscribe. So if you could just hit like and subscribe, you don't have to listen to us. That's just not worth it for you. But just subscribe and like us, so that we can feel good about ourselves.
Yes. Yeah, and we'll just say thanks, guys, like Tim has. That'll do.
Okay, that's really what I want to say. Thanks so much for.
Yeah, I was going to say something. Just join us in the chat, and because it's fun just bantering with you as well. That's what we call it, the babble. We just want to be loose and free and just talk about stuff, and it's nice to hear what you think as well. So thank you very much for your contributions.
And maybe someday we'll get nominated for a Board Game Geek Podcast Award. I have no delusions that we would ever win it, but I have some kind of aspirations to be nominated. And I tried it myself, but it wasn't enough.
I did it
100 times. I did it 100 times. I kept submitting the thing.
Just happy to hang out with you. That's all. I don't need a medal or award. Everything is just great to be with you.
Oh, I like medals.
Should we beam out?
Yeah, we're circling the airport trying to land this baby, but just isn't happening. Join us on the Board Game Geek Guild 2248, Berkey and Badger on Twitter, on Facebook, anywhere where fine podcasts are sold and distributed, iTunes, Stitcher Radio, and Libsyn. You can go to Board Games Everybody Should or Board Game Theater. You can find all kinds of stuff. Berkey and Badger Board Game Battle Show. And with that, send us on out.
Make it so.
We're so glad we had this time together. Now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show.